Why don't we start with the old Daily Telegraph here? Because they cover this story. The IFS is this independent, quite well-regarded financial think tank, the Institute of Financial Studies, is it?
Institute
Fiscal Studies.
Fiscal Studies. Oh, because somebody said just keep using the word fiscal because it makes you sound really intelligent.
Makes you sound clever.
And I do try and do that. So they say nobody's being honest in this election. What do you think of this, Charlie? No one's saying, you know, if you raise taxes, you've got to use them to pay off debt, not to blooming spend them on stuff.
Well, look, I mean, not long to go until the election is finally over, which I think everybody will be welcome when it is over. But it's true, the manifestos have been published, and Paul Johnson has said, as the director of the IFS, that no manifesto is being completely open about the tough decisions that are going to need to be taken to deal with the public finances. Now, Paul Johnson, big fan of Liz Truss, by the way. They were good friends, I understand.
Oh, that's not a seal of...
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Maybe don't listen to him.
So there might be a bit in there. But the reality is, what I think the IFS is slightly missing is what Sir Keir Starmer was saying yesterday, which is about growth. Now, growth isn't included in some of the figures. So while the manifestos are probably slightly more cautious about trying to say we're not going to raise taxes, or actually the tax burden is far too high and they're going to try and bring it down, that's certainly what the Conservatives are saying. I don't think they factored in just a projection of what the growth is going to be like in this country to be able to fund public services or to reduce debt.
You've just single-handedly discredited that economist.
I don't get. I mean, listen. It's much more simple than that, isn't it? We've got £2 trillion worth of debt. Mm-hmm. Half of it was built up during COVID, and we seem to be behaving like we don't. If you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. I mean, what do you think? Because you want us to spend money as well.
Sensibly, but yeah.
But you don't want to pay off debt?
I think investment, then you get growth. If you have a healthy society, that in itself will allow growth. You can't have a society who half are off sick and so on and so forth. So, you know, you can't just continue to not spend anything and see this country go into the ground.
But if you have a friend, right, and you know this friend is £100,000 in debt on their credit cards, and they say, guess what, Gemma? I'm taking you on a lovely holiday. Your first thought is, you can't afford it, mate.
Yeah,
this is what the election is.
This is the Thatcherite sort of idea that a budget, sort of the debt is like your household budget, and it's not really that simple.
Well, I know it's not. I may be wrong about it, but is it wrong to look at debt as being like a household budget that at some point you've got to pay off?
I think you've got to now, yes, because the debt is so high, because of things like COVID, because of things like the war in Ukraine.
Because of Tory mismanagement.
Well, you know, there's been all kinds of problems in the global economy, but the reality is you've got a choice at this election. That's what both parties will be saying. That, look, Labour are saying they're not going to raise the three main tax thresholds, so whether it's national insurance, whether it's...
OK.
But the problem is you've got to make a choice whether you want taxes to come down now, because they've been they've been so high for so long. They're at a record high since post-war. So people want to be able to have more money in their pocket that they've earned to be able to spend.
Yeah,
the economy has just started to grow. That's where the Conservatives will say they've turned the corner now because of things like COVID, because of the war in Ukraine, because inflation has been so high. That's now come down. Don't put all that at risk versus a party that will want to ultimately put up your taxes.
All right.
14 years, and this is where we are with 2.7 trillion debt. So I'm sorry, it correlates that the Tory government, have mismanaged our finances dreadfully, and that includes adjusting for COVID and everything else that we've gone through.
I think, in fairness, we can't go say, oh, everything that's gone wrong is global. Yeah. Because when the ceiling fell in on Labour, the Tories blamed Gordon Brown.
And the other thing to say is austerity has been proven to be an absolute waste of time and one of the most damaging things to inflict upon a society ever, because it hasn't reduced debt.
You could disagree with that,
and everything is terrible.
Well, people will remember the reason why the Tories in 2010 had to come into coalition with the Liberal Democrats to have an austerity programme, because Labour spent too much and mismanaged the economy under Gordon Brown.
Doubled, so it's completely non-argument. And also Labour, not that I'm sticking up for them, I think their manifesto is timid, it's not that particularly exciting. I actually prefer the Greens and the Lib Dems. But you also understand, I don't think they've been privy to exactly the state of the Treasury yet, have they? And
come on, you just said the number, 2.7 million.
Trillion, yeah.
Trillion!
I know, but until they get real insight, it's probably worse, isn't it? And I do agree with the not over-promising.
It may be that we just forget. So look, I'm just an observer, I'm just a taxpayer. I'm thinking, like, we seem to be in a thing where we don't think we ever have to pay off debt. I've not heard of this before. Well, The way you get out of it is you make your currency worth less over years through inflation. That's right. You can do that. Then no one can afford a house. So, but yeah, maybe that's what we do. We just ignore it.
Our kids and going to uni or whatever, and the interest on their loans is 9%.
I know.
Like,
I thought that was supposed to be low. I mean, it was. They were told take out loans. The interest rate will be negligible.
Yeah, 9%.
And now it's 9%.
So they're never going to pay that back, are
But listen, the kids are going to be overtaxed for the whole of their lives because of this conversation, where no one here is accepting we need to do something about £2.7 trillion of debt.
Yeah, well, the
you
Greens
both
have
say
got
we
some good ideas.
You say you keep spending. You say we ignore it.
I say tax the billionaires and the multi-millionaires,
Oh,
like
right.
the Green.
Which
But
is
they're
always an
suggesting
argument, by the
1
way.
to
How many of them are
2%.
Exactly, which doesn't cover half of, or even a
Right.
or whatever it is that you're
But it
trying
would
to
raise
cover.
50 billion,
But you
that's
cut
quite a chunk.
taxes. You cut taxes. You have the most competitive global economy. You increase inward investment.
That didn't
from
work
countries
well with
across
Truss.
the-
Well, listen,
and she went too far and too fast. But actually, some of the things that she was advocating, I think.
Oh, there's a whole Truss fan club.
Can get on board with. But
There's a whole,
Right, it's
she's
not
going
that
around.
big.
She's in a constituency in Norfolk. She's going around in a one of these government cars or whatever. It's because as the
Yeah.
Prime Minister, you get a driver.
Yeah, great.
And 2 bodyguards. Can you imagine? You get.
Deluded. She thinks she's Taylor Swift.
Honestly. OK, here's a clip. Now, Rishi Sunak, I listened to him yesterday. He was on a Sun debate. They call it Never Mind the Ballots. It was a YouTube thing. He sounded like someone had put salt in his tea. He really sounded energetic. Have a listen.
I was right then when I warned about Liz Truss, and that's why all of you can trust me now when I also warn about the damage that Keir Starmer would do to our economy. Right? In that election, everyone said I was going to lose. I was saying something that no one wanted to hear, but I was saying it because I believed it. Right? And I'm telling you again now, all seems a bit familiar. If Keir Starmer's your Prime Minister, the economy is going to suffer and all of you are going to suffer. I don't want to see that happen. That's why I'm carrying on going every day in this election. I believe in what I'm saying and I want to stop those tax rises.
I was listening thinking, oh, wow, he's properly either worried or he's got into it suddenly.
Yeah, and
It's like Scotland in the last 5 minutes.
says the man who didn't insure our debt as well has lost us billions. He's got
All right.
quite tetchy.
I think, I don't know. I just think some people need to see him raging a bit.